In a very short span, we are watching that the stock market is dropping hard again at a time when cryptocurrency market is kind of giving you more and more opportunities. Assets are starting to move higher here, putting in new local highs for this year and this trend. And some of them trying to show you opportunities are around the corner if you are looking at them. But what's more into this? Because right now you're watching even banks entering into partnerships where they really want to allow people to use crypto to do payments for what? Mortgage bills. So that's like two things happening at a time which we should know about. Yes, it's true that it includes XRP, which is actually a great thing because they believe it has the liquidity to do what they want. But then you do have to understand, yeah, there's a partnership with a third party, AFCF Pay, but yeah, you're including all those. What does that mean? Because right now, you are here at a point where we are most likely watching something like this happening. I've tried to detail it in the Twitter, but if you actually go through what's happening, you actually saw like, okay, JP Morgan is saying like, they are going to ban crypto payments from their side. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time, we see them doing all these frauds. Why is that? It actually come back into the same idea because even Ripple is talking about the interest rate hike and the pressure it builds. That's one of the reasons when you actually go through this detail, I've gone through the history to give you guys the actual reality which you want to imagine, which lies before it comes. Because yes, it is true that you're watching adoption, expansion, thriving environment in crypto. Not all of them, few of them. That's where you need to understand, even when the dollar is going up, you are watching such a thriving environment because it's not just the dollar going up. If you actually focus on that, you understand the fact that the VIX, the volatility index, is actually breaking through a trend line, and now the next resistance is much higher. What does that mean? Panic. We've discussed about this in detail in one of our videos where we focused entirely on this 4 days ago and gave you guys the right thought process that this is going to happen. And I believe these scenarios will play out. And that's something we are going to detail here. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, what you're watching is the calls which we have made in the past when it was $15. Right now, it stands at close to $44. But remember, it came up to 44 once and I called take profit. We did. Then it dropped 50% and I told you guys, this is what I believe it is. You can be a bull here because it dropped 50% and it's trending higher. Again, in another week, you already went back up to 44. So if you look at that, opportunities are massive in this market. If you actually focus on what's important. When we started focusing on Maker, it was still $800. Right now, it's somewhere around $1,400. So that is actually a decent run up if we actually look at what's happening. Because yes, yearly, it has only done 90%, but we are talking about getting all of that 90% when we were positioned correctly. When it was dropping, we gave you the highlight like, yeah, this is what's happening in the market. We think it's going to go back up. When the price was dropping and the panic was there, 1,000. After you reached 1,320, 330, where we took some profit, that's a different story. But it was dropping back and we gave you the highlight. It was coming back up and I was like, okay, I think there is going to be a drop and then a continuation. Look at what just happened. You had the drop and a pull to the upside, a continuation. So visualizing the possibilities in the market is important. And SI family is taking the advantage of all these calls getting onto them on the right time. So if you are looking at things like that, look at the link in the description below. Now, let's jump back into the reality of what's happening now. Dollar is going up. Stock market is crashing. I mean, you cannot put another word to that because you're watching that breaking through a key range of support. We discussed that before. Now, what is the next level of support? You're like, okay, we are at a short-term support, but it seems like we are breaking through that. which means you have further lows coming in. As soon as you see people realize the fact that this support is breaking, some would assume that, okay, most likely we're going to come back down to this range. That's a lot of pain in the market. If that's true, a lot of people are looking at this saying like, okay, the market is about to drop. The market is about to drop big. I don't want to be in this market. I want to move out. Maybe they're going to move a lot into gold, a lot into silver. But right now, if I take you guys into gold, this is what you're watching. You are literally putting in lower highs. Literally, you're not actually trending higher. You are trending to the downside. This is what's happening. So maybe you're going to come back down to this range. I'm not sure. Maybe this is going to be your bottom, but you still have a little bit of downside, or at least people are moving into that direction. And that's exactly where this comes into picture. That's exactly where all this detail we went through comes into the real picture. When the stock market dropped last time this year, this is the recent data. We're not going back 5-10 years. We are looking at what's happening right now with the macro environment, because 5 years back, this was not the scenario. Believe me, the rates were so low, the cost of money was so low, the cost of stupidity was also low for the politicians. They can borrow all the money they want in the world. Now, that's not the case. Reality is setting in. So let me get back. If that means one thing, it's a huge opportunity for you. I'm not saying that crypto, the entire assets will run up. I'm saying a lot of liquidity is going to come in and few assets are going to absorb that. We are watching these assets trending higher from December 2022, giving you the idea of arm reversing. And from that time, it's trending higher. You look at the structure, it was trending lower. It started doing this. That is where you understand it's an opportunity. You wait for a breakout, you get that retest, boom. You enter that trade. Now, there is a lot of different assets which we are personally focusing on in the crypto market. Everything is being posted on the alerts and in the Patreon where you guys are actually watching that. Now, if you're not taking that benefit yet, you can consider that, because right now the market is showing you a lot of different wild movements. We actually gave you all these understanding before it started moving or started popping. Say, some of these assets which are actually running higher, before they printed those big numbers on the daily, you had the call saying, okay guys, watch this, say ARK. If you actually take a look at ARK and our call in that, I'm like, okay, this is how you actually take benefit of the market. Not a lot of assets actually move up like that, but when you do get a drop, when you do get a pull back to the moving average, you kind of have the idea, okay, this is the structure, it's going to go up, boom, it goes higher. So if you have patience and you're riding through these, you are in that range where money is going to move out from the stock markets for sure, and it's going to come into the crypto and you're going to absorb that in the crypto market. Now, while the crypto market is still holding on to the actual pattern, you're watching the stock market drop. Or when the stock market is dropping, I'm talking about dropping heavily, not small movements in the price action, because in stock market, 6% drop is a pain. And when that's happening in an index like DAW, you're watching crypto during the same time horizon staying flat. There's a daily chart here, there's a daily chart, zoom in and watch what's happening. You are staying in the same territory. You're not actually moving much. This is actually huge because you're not watching a lot of people doing the panic selling right now here in the crypto. Now, what's the reality of it? Yeah, we are trending lower on a shorter horizon. When you actually watch this, we haven't actually put in a higher high. We're not trending higher. Yes, there is a change in the microstructure. Instead of going lower at this point, you got a reversal and you started moving in. So if you see a pull to the upside, the price is getting absorbed to the upside, that means something huge is coming. Stock market is dropping, but the crypto market is going up. That's exactly where I want to actually take this to. If it's me, I would look at the banks and look at the actual housing market scenario. Housing market is crashing like crazy. That's a range where Ripple highlight the pressure of interest rates being so high. That's where I went through this discussion, taking you guys into the idea. Look back at the history. Last time when they had to raise the interest rate like this, aggressive hike, and keep it there, what happened? You need to actually go through the history and understand human beings does all this stuff again and again. We are watching all of them. We watch the bankers do all this kind of bullshit and they come out as a winner. Why? Because we are not taking advantage of what's already printed in the history. A few does that, but we want the majority to do that. Now, if you're watching this and you're asking the question like, okay, Danny, what can I do? A lot of people actually drop some message and ask like, SI, what should I do? I'm like, okay, let's focus on this point. You're watching the entire crypto market slowly grinding higher. That means you have some exposure to crypto. That means you get the advantage of the market going up. Great. Now, do you actually see all these assets doing the same? I don't. XRP right now is showing you that it is at a support line. We discussed about this in the yesterday's video, where the pattern is showing you something like this. I can break higher, but it's a microstructure. So even if you're breaking higher, we are watching for something like 0.6, 0.63. Great. It's cool. It's not bad because that's exactly what we have done in the past. Once we have these patterns, we go up and we test this resistance. So maybe it's going to be 0.6, maybe it's going to be 0.72. But you get the idea. Now, you keep the exact same thing in the picture and you're zooming out a little bit. Where are we? We are at a trend line support trying to bounce off. And as soon as you see this bounce, ensure this perspective. There's going to be a lot of bulls understanding the fact that, okay, next local resistance is going to be somewhere around $1. So you're watching 100% price action possibility in just one asset. That's XRP. And as you move through this, certainly keep this in mind. The entire structure of panic is over and you are moving into the FOMO area. Easy thing, go in the macro, look at the RSI. Is there strength here? No, it's still at the neutral territory after coming from the peak. That usually is the support level where you see them bouncing off. Now, why am I reiterating this? Guys, history is important because we, the human beings, tend to repeat all these stupid things in the history. That's why we learn history. That's why we get the advantage of going through all these calls. And it's not a magic, right? We actually go through the charts, take our time, learn through all this, and then call out the possibilities, right? We actually give you the right sense of, look at this, because the market is giving you all these understanding. When you actually enter into the real market, it kind of gives you a clear picture. There is no doubt in this scenario, right? It kind of gives you a clear picture saying like, okay, if you have watched things evolve this quickly, you may have to look at a lot of it because things like this enter in the market and these opportunities come almost all the time. But you need to focus on where these opportunities are actually. Now that leads you back into the area of how focused are you into the market? How do you actually look at the market? Are you really learning a lot from the history? Because if you are learning from the history, now this is the key point. When the price drops and the strength somewhat comes to this range of 46, 47, 48, you see them bouncing. And one thing to keep in mind is you didn't actually have this range of buying power coming back into the market to push the price back that much. Why? That's exactly what I'm trying to point out. Sellers are already understanding that this trend is kind of a risk for them. It's hard and too crazy to short from here. They're going to lose their house, the car, the money, everything. That's why they start stepping out and a little bit of bullish energy kind of pushes the price to the roof. That is what you're watching here. You didn't actually had a lot of buying power compared to this one to reach this new high from the low here. That was actually a 10-12x run up in XRP. Now, if that's true in history, go to this point and look at where we are now. I'm like, this is how close you can get to that saying of, history rhymes itself. I would say it's more likely repeating itself, but yeah, there are a little bit of tiny variations happening. So yeah, rhyming itself, which means you have the advantage of watching this right now. And when the price is here on $1.05, or maybe close to $2, I'll come back asking you this question. What did you do when the price was at 0.5? Did you actually take the right decision in your life? If you had a lot of commodities, if you have a lot of stocks, now the question is, how well are you going to rebalance them? We are actually going through a lot of one-on-one sessions, right? And when I go through some, I'm literally watching some of these individuals having a lot of high-tech stocks, including NVIDIA. And I'm actually giving the thought process like, guys, watch. We went through this stuff, right? We went through this stuff. We watched the stock market. We had our call here at 175, 177. And I told you take profit somewhere around 450. Yeah, I didn't get the absolute top. I didn't get the absolute bottom. But I did tell you to buy here and sell here. For me, I'm looking at that and saying like the RSI is dropping heavy. Something is changing. Now, you do have a possibility of a pullback like this and the price going back up. But the level of risk you are taking for the next 100% run up is super high. It's super high. That's why I'm like, okay, maybe you may still get a 100% run up in some of these assets in the stock market. But how sure are you about those? When you go into these assets, I've been following this with the guys in my group, right? As soon as this broke, I'm like, okay, guys, it's coming back down. Keep your eyes on these levels. We're going to buy back at these ranges. Because when it was at 150, 160 range, I think 165, we called out saying, guys, this is the buying opportunity. We sold somewhere around 450. For me, that's a huge return in stock market in that duration. That's in a year. Why is that? Because we are learning from the history. This is exactly what I'm watching in the crypto market right now. Some of them, when they break this trend line and go to the downside, trend is your friend. If that's breaking to the other direction, that's trying to form a new trend. You need to see what you are getting wrong. I see few assets which are so heavy in fundamentals doing just that, breaking through the long macro trend. Now I'm like, boom. We are out of that asset. We took the profit, that's for sure. But why is that happening? There is something evolving. Someone in their competitor space is eating their customers, which you want to take that research into. You want to learn what's happening in the market. Now, you can actually put the perspective and ask the question like, okay, if that's all true, SI, how many of these assets do you think are going to go high? I've shared around 10 or 11 assets in the digest and in the group, and I'm watching 2 or 3 assets entering into that list now. So in this month's digest, say by next 3 days, I'll complete that and give you guys, right? I think we may have another 3 to 4 assets, and I'll be following it up with the last month's digest because I think almost all the assets are still trending higher, still making new highs, or giving you a great opportunity at the buy the dip range, which if you don't miss, in 6 months' time, in 9 months' time, you won't have to regret. Because when we are going back into these calls, it's not the most recent data, right? You're going back 2-3 months, looking at, okay, what's happening here? What did I say here? And what's happening right now? So you're actually observing all these calls, which were a little bit back in time, which you look for like 3 months, 6 months, and then you are looking at all this and you're making your decision. What should you really look for? Because in the market, you're getting a lot of different calls from a lot of different individuals. You do watch a lot of these assets performing. So keep in mind the opportunity is there right now and it won't be there for all time. If you have been in the crypto market for some time, you already know this. If you have been in the stock market, commodities market, it's the same, just the horizon is a little bit longer there. So if you don't want to miss next 1 year, I'll say try learning as much as possible and as quick as possible, because it should be as quick as possible. Otherwise, this window of opportunity is going to close on you, because right now in front of us, history is playing out. On this spectrum, we are looking at the negative side, but understand that negative side creates a lot of positive side for very few people. You can call them chosen, but it's not chosen. They have put in the time, effort, and everything to be in that spot. So I really want you guys, almost all of you guys, to be in that spot who gains from this financial change, maybe a financial collapse. If you've been receiving value for your time, please do smash that like button. That supports the channel a lot. And again, if you are going to look through all these calls, you want to actually see all this on the right time for right assets, look at the Patreon. I strongly believe it's going to help you. That's it for today, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.